Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, depending where in the world you are. I'm thrilled to have you join me for today's live event on mastering resilience and thriving through challenges. Here's a question for you. When your team faces setbacks, do you bounce back stronger or do they feel overwhelmed and stuck? Today, we're going to explore how you can turn challenges into opportunities by mastering resilience, not just for yourself, but for your entire organization. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if this sounds good. We have an incredible group joining us today. Experienced CEOs, C-level executives, and HR directors from 15 different states in the USA, from Brazil, Argentina, my home country, and leaders from across Europe from more than 15 countries. I'd also like to acknowledge those joining from beautiful Sweden, where I'm based. My name is Lizzie Claesson, and for the past 25 years, I had the privilege of working with exceptional leaders like you, helping them transform the teams and achieve new levels of success. I work with a team of amazing individuals at Brighter Leaders. To learn more about our work, you can visit brighterleaders.com. In the next 10 minutes, I'll share practical cases and tips that you can implement right away to elevate your leadership and team performance. To get the most out of it, I'd like to ask you to bring forth your reflective self. To do this, let's count together from 10 to 1. For each descending number, feel more relaxed and more present. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Feel centered, feel present. I also have something special for you at the end, something that will help you apply what we covered today directly to your leadership role. So stay with me until the end. Let me start by sharing a story. A few years ago, I worked with a CEO from a company struggling to reach its budget. What do you think his management team's first reaction was? They wanted to cut costs, lay low, and wait for the storm to pass. Does any of this sound familiar? But this CEO did something different. He gathered his team and said, "We're not going to survive this. We're going to turn it into our biggest win yet." He shifted the mindset from loss to opportunity. They focused on what they could control, invested in one-on-one and team coaching. Even though no one in this management team was against coaching, they were very skeptical of this investment at the time when the company was making losses. The CEO's move was bold and visionary, and within 6 months, the company increased revenue with 25%, surpassing their budget. Take a deep breath with me. And reflect. How do you react when faced with challenges? Are you using resilience to transform setbacks into opportunities? This approach is something I bring up in my book. Here's something surprising. Did you know that 70% of change initiatives fail because leaders don't address the emotional resilience of their teams? You can have the best strategies, but if your team isn't emotionally equipped to handle setbacks, progress stalls. So think about your team for a moment. When things get tough, are they emotionally ready to rise to the occasion, or do they get stuck in frustration? Let's dive into the first key point. You've probably heard about the importance of having a growth mindset, but here's the next level, a growth culture. It's not enough to have a growth mindset as a leader. Your entire team needs to see setbacks as part of growth. What's your team's reaction to failure? Do they see it as learning opportunities, or does blame take center stage? I worked with a company that has a subconscious pattern of moving towards blaming culture. Why am I saying subconscious? Because if you talk to people, no one liked this blaming subculture that had been created. Yet so many were pointing fingers. One of the things we did working together with the management team was to reframe failure as a learning moment by encouraging leaders and employees to ask themselves questions like, what can we learn from this? What could be positive with this setback? One of the things we did was to institutionalize the idea of putting on the explorer's hat, leaning into situations where curiosity. In every meeting room, there was a kind of Indiana Jones hat on the table, just to remind people. In a few months, everyone was asking empowering questions. It was so beautiful. When setbacks occur, does your team focus on blame, or do they seek out for lessons? This approach is one of the many tools I dive into in my book, where I outline practical steps to transform setbacks into a team's biggest win. It's about creating a growth culture where failure fuels success. Now, let's talk about the next critical element, emotional agility. How well do you and your team manage stress, frustration, and uncertainty in real time? I remember working with an HR director when the company was in the process of a reorganization. The stakes were high and tensions were even higher. The problem was that during critical meetings, emotions were running the show. People were defensive, frustrated, and overwhelmed. Decisions were made reactively, and it was starting to impact organizational success. Anyone that resonates with this? One of the things we did was simple yet transformative. Before every meeting, the HR director implemented a 2-minute mindful pause. It allowed everyone to clear their minds and reset. And after a few weeks, the emotional tone shifted from reactive to proactive. The tone in the meetings was less tense, people started listening to each other for real, and collaboration improved noticeably. Meetings became more effective and productive. Imagine if your team could navigate through high-stress situations with this kind of emotional agility. How would that change your outcomes? This is one of the many practical tools I share in my book to help leaders build emotional resilience within their teams. Now, for the third key point, resilience is not about going it alone. Many leaders still think resilience is about standing strong in the storm, but true resilience comes when you know when to lean on others. I worked with an executive who was leading an underperforming team. Her first instinct was to micromanage, take on more work, set higher standards, and hope the team would rise to the challenge. But the harder she pushed, the more they buckled under pressure. So we flipped the script. Instead of trying to do everything herself, she began to leverage the strengths of her team, fostering greater collaboration and accountability while still providing clear direction. She introduced a shift in the regular team check-ins. Instead of only focusing on review performance, she fostered open conversations where team members could express challenges and offer solutions. She also showed herself vulnerable and shared her struggles with her team. What do you think happened? It was greatly appreciated by her team, and over time, the team found their rhythm, focusing on each other's strengths, improving collaboration and accountability, and elevating performance. How often do you lean on your team for resilience rather than taking it all on yourself? Asking yourself reflective questions is a habit that can enhance your personal and your team's performance. I covered this in detail in my book, and if you want to dive deeper into these strategies, stay tuned because I have something special for you at the end of this talk. In today's fast-paced world, with challenges hit us at breakneck speed, mastering resilience is no longer optional. It's a leadership necessity. Don't wait for a crisis to test your limits. DM me to get started on your path to mastering resilience. The last key point I want to share is a wow moment from a client. During the pandemic, I worked with a leader whose team was overloaded. But no one here has worked with a team that's been overloaded, right? One of the many things we did was to implement a simple exercise. Identify 3 things you can control in any situation. For him, it was communication, his team well-being, and weekly priorities. That clarity was a game changer. His team went from feeling lost and unfocused to feeling empowered, knowing exactly where to direct their energy. Within a month, the team was back on track, showing significant improvements in performance. As a result, they went on to surpass quarterly quotas despite the ongoing challenges. What would happen if your team focused on just 3 things they could control? This 3-point focus is one of the practical exercises in my book designed to help you lead with even more clarity. Let's recap. What have we explored? 4 key points. How to cultivate a growth culture where failure fuels your success. How to build emotional agility so your team can thrive under pressure. How to rely on your team to build resilience together. And how to apply the 3-point focus to navigate with even more clarity. which one of these will you focus on first? I'd love for you to share your key takeaway in the comments. As I promised, I have a gift for you. My latest book, From Suffering to Surfing, which hit #1 on Amazon. This book is packed with practical tools and exercises designed for busy professionals who need real results. It's your roadmap to mastering resilience, turning challenges into opportunities, and building a team that thrives, no matter the circumstances. Some of the content you will find here is: don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits. How to unlock the power of your brain. How to reduce unwanted stress, and how to master the power of consistency, and many others, all with short practical exercises. The question is, what's your next move? If you're ready to stop reacting to setbacks and start mastering resilience, DM me and I'll send you the first 2 chapters of From Suffering to Surfing for free. Because mastering resilience shouldn't wait until the next crisis hits. If you wish to acquire the book, you'll find it on our website, brighterleaders.com, or on Amazon. If this event was helpful, kindly like the post, comment, and share it with your network. Remember, you and your team are always just one mindset shift away from your next breakthrough. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions or want to continue the conversation, feel free to contact me. Together, we can rise above challenges, inspire our teams, and create a culture where resilience leads to unstoppable performance. Have an incredible day.